So we're here with a ZG Weekly exclusive interview with the general manager of House of Sports, Frank Lombardy. Frank, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing great. Obviously, we're excited to be in this area at the facility and just started this relationship. We wanted to take the time to come down here and provide more of the viewing audience in and around the New York area, just about what's going on with our relationship and learn more about what goes on behind the scenes, from your standpoint. Just getting into it, can you tell everybody a little bit about an overview of the House of Sports and then what your role is in relation to the facility?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So essentially, the House of Sports is a 120,000 square foot multi-sport facility. 4 basketball courts, an 80 by 40 yard turf field, performance center, restaurant, and within those 4 walls, we do anything from basketball, lacrosse, volleyball, soccer, birthday parties, performance training, and a lot of things in between. Pretty much anything we can get in the box, if you will,
right.
that people are looking for sports programming. We're open to that. Within that, we have full-time directors in each one of our core sports, and they're in charge of scheduling all of our programming. So that's clinics, classes, camps, things like that. And then the layer under that would be our renters and tenants and people that we have good partnerships with that will do additional programming within those sports.
And you manage all this, right? I mean, it's a heavy load. I mean,
I
when
do
you
my
start,
best.
but all those different, I don't think people realize how much goes into a facility. It's a beautiful facility when you see the 4 courts. I think initially people say, oh, it's basketball, but it's so much more than that. And I know that you're an integral part of overseeing everything.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest key in my position is balance. So we always want to try and give people the opportunity to have programming that fits their needs. So we don't want to just have elite basketball. We don't just want to have recreational basketball. We want to cater to the masses. And our goal is to offer programming within the House of Sports that people can do that. And if that's something that we're not proficient in, we want to bring in an outside party that can offer that to the general population.
Talk about it's been going on now for the last couple of weeks, the Zero Gravity Winter League. How it's gone from your standpoint, and then obviously your outlook for the spring with all the programming that's coming up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, at our core, the House of Sports is a facility, right? So we're in the facility management business. We want to make sure this building is functioning and running correctly and clean and cleanliness and friendliness is our big thing. And as you guys would know, basketball competition, tournaments, leagues is almost a whole different business line within itself.
Right.
So when we started talking about our basketball competition, we took a step back and we said, listen, we can probably do it internally and do it fairly well, but why not partner with people that do it the best and have an excellent product on the basketball competition line that runs directly in line with what we are as a facility as far as top-notch friendliness, cleanliness, things like that.
Right. The from the spring standpoint, what does it mean to be able to fill that programming week in and week out? I don't think people realize, they come to events, they see what goes on while they're there, but the actual task of filling time at a facility, can you talk about that as far as the challenge that presents?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that go into, and obviously you guys know this better than anyone, there's so many factors that come into a successful tournament, right? You can have a full tournament, which is great, but that's only maybe a third of really a successful tournament, making sure the competition is right, trying to fit people's needs as far as game times, people that coach multiple teams within a program. That's a whole animal within itself, and Matt on your staff does a fantastic job of that, and we're happy to have him as our point person. From a facility standpoint, it's making sure that, again, the courts are clean, the people at the front desk are polite and giving the correct directions, and when there's multiple facilities where they need to go, directions and things like that. Right. So again, it's the two groups of Zero Gravity and House Sports working in tandem, communication lines being open, things like that is crucial to a good product, and I think we have the two pieces in place to set the standard in the Northeast as far as youth basketball competition.
Along those lines, can you talk about, obviously with the new ownership coming in, similar to, a basketball organization, a baseball organization, how important is new ownership when it comes to creating the culture that ultimately you're going to build off of?
Yeah, no, I mean, at the end of the day, I think it comes down to philosophy, right? The philosophy of the new ownership group is we want to open this building up, right? We don't want to be exclusive. We don't want people to feel like there's any reason for them not to come here, whether that be from a birthday party right up to a basketball tournament. So by opening up the facility, it's allowed us to really bring in a unique market that may have not been here before. And conversely to that as well would be that, we still have our programming. We still have our AAU teams, and we never want people to feel like in our facility that they're at a disadvantage playing one of our teams.
Right.
And by bringing in a third-party operator that does it well and all the games are fair and there's good refereeing and the games are going on time, we never want to leave ourselves open to people feeling like they're at any sort of disadvantage because they're playing a house sports team within the House of Sports, right. And that's something we don't want to project.
Right. We have, Frank, a segment we call 5 and 5, which are quick hitters, one word, one sentence answers, where we get into it a little bit. First question we have here, Frank. Congrats recently on becoming a father. I know that you have had a lot going on the last 2 weeks. What is the first word that comes to mind after the whole experience? I know it's hard to sum up in one word.
I'll give you a compound word or a hyphen. I'm not really sure what it is, but
we'll take it.
Life-changing. Definitely life-changing.
Spent some time at Marist. From the Division I athletics standpoint, what was the toughest thing about being a part of Division I athletics?
I would say managing the programs. We had 26 Division I programs, and it's a small liberal arts college. But we do an excellent job. Travis Teletasi and Tim Murray up there. I'll give them a little shout out.
Plug.
Do a fantastic job. And when you're working with a small administrative staff and a huge coaching staff, managing expectations and all of those things are crucial for a successful Division I program.
What is the toughest part of being a general manager at a facility?
I mean, similar to college athletics, it's meeting everyone's needs for sure. Whether it be our directors, our tenants, whomever, yep. Making sure everyone feels like they're top priority.
Finding that balance.
Absolutely.
These next two I like because I'm from Staten Island, so I'm always anxious to learn what people like doing around these parts. Favorite extracurricular activity in New York City when you have the time, which I know you don't have a ton of, especially recently. Favorite thing to do around the New York City area?
It's definitely eating and the restaurants. I always tell my wife, I said, I'm not going to retire to Florida. I want to retire to a studio apartment in Manhattan and eat at a different restaurant every night.
I love it. And then actually a segue into that, the last question. Bagels are dear to my heart from Staten Island. What is the best, when I come down to House of Sports, the best bagel spot that I can go to in and around the Ardsley area?
Outside of the ones in our cafe. Would be Stars just down the road here. Stars Bagels.
I like it. Well, Frank, thanks so much. Before we sign off, can you just let people know, website, Twitter handle, how do they find out more information about House of Sports with all the program that's going on, especially in the nearby community? How do people find out more info? Yeah, definitely at our website, www.houseofsportsny.com, at Twitter at House of Sports NY. And at Facebook / House of Sports NY. Great. Well, Frank, thanks again. Obviously, another great voice in the grassroots community. We're so excited to be here and can't wait for the future. Yeah, thanks for having me.